This mindset video is all about making time. How do we manage to find or make the time to do the things that we know we should be doing, making notes, going back over materials, when it seems like our days are really full already? So, first thing I want to talk about is the difference between finding time and making time. Now, if we think about finding time, it's probably true for you, it's definitely true for me. We don't ever find time to do things we think we should. So have you ever caught yourself saying, oh, I want to get back into exercise, but I never find the time, or I want to read books, but I never find the time. I want to learn a language or learn a musical instrument, and I never find the time. And of course, this also applies to study. And those little extra things that we know we should be doing in order to make our lives easier in the long run, the going back over the notes, the kind of flashcards, the retrieval practice, all the things that we know we should be doing, and yet we don't seem to find the time to do them. And that is because time is not something you will find in your day. Our days are full. We're always doing something every second of every single day. There is no way that you're going to suddenly find yourself at 4 o'clock in the afternoon thinking, hey, I'm not doing anything right now. Now's the time that I will go and do my flashcards. And so making time, not finding time, is what we need to get into the habit of doing. Making time is an active process. It involves planning ahead to look to where the time might be available and allocating that time to a specific task so that when it gets to that time, we know what we're doing and we will actually have a much better chance of doing it. So that seems really simple. What is it that gets in our way? What is it that stops us making the time that we know we should do to make our lives easier further down the line? So one of the main things, obviously in sixth form when you're studying, is the urgency of other tasks. That thing that you've got to do for tomorrow, that essay you've got to write, those questions, that test you've got to revise for right now, they're going to seem very, very urgent. And it could be urgency of tasks that aren't actually that important, but they feel very demanding of your time right in the instance. And exams, end of year exams, mocks, etc. can feel a very long way away. Another thing that will get in our way is a lack of motivation and procrastination. And we'll talk about why that is and how we can get around it in this video. And we're also going to talk about multitasking and something called time confetti, which has other descriptions as well. And we'll talk about why it sometimes feels like our time is always broken up into tiny little pieces. So let's look at that first problem, the urgency of other tasks stopping us doing the long goals. So we need to be really careful and think about these two words, urgent versus important. You might have heard of something called the Eisenhower matrix, where we actually rank our tasks against how urgent they are and how important. But the thing is that often we can allow things to build up to the point that it feels like everything we're doing is urgent. Everything needs to be done now because it needs to be done in the next hour or in the next 24 hours. And what that means is that it feels like we never ever have any time for all this extra stuff that everyone says we should be doing. Our teacher says we should be going back over the notes. And alongside the sort of urgent tasks, which are homework tasks or revision for a test the next day, we also have some tasks that feel very urgent, but actually aren't very important. So lots of demands on our time, lots of interruptions, friends texting us, different things popping through in our emails, and they feel urgent. Perhaps somebody around us is having some drama and wants us to get involved. So there are things that feel urgent, but perhaps actually if we took a step back and didn't get so hung up on this needs dealing with right now, we could actually step back and think maybe it doesn't need dealing with by me at all. So how do we get around this problem of constant urgency and feeling like we've always got something that needs doing right now. So really the main thing is, we talked about making time. We need to set aside time in advance each week for non-urgent tasks. So of course we set aside time for doing homework, for answering the questions we've been set, all those other little tasks that we need to do, sporting commitments, part-time jobs, everything like that. But we should also set aside time, even if it's just 1 hour or 2 hours each week, and that time should be completely set for non-urgent long-term goals. You can use this also for things not related to study. It could be health and fitness goals. It could be spending more time with family or friends. Things that we do let slide if we get too involved in the urgency and constantly what we call firefighting, trying to catch everything right as it happens and get it all finished. So in reality, why do we often feel like we're doing things at the last minute and constantly besieged by urgent tasks? It is probably because we're lacking motivation to actually get started on things in time, and we're procrastinating and not getting them done. And it is difficult to get motivated. Studying is hard, doing work is hard. Our brains are not evolved to want to do hard work. When you look around you at people who you think, wow, those people are doing so well, I really don't know how they get motivated, it's not fair, they just seem to find it so easy. It probably isn't that they really love studying. It probably is simply that they've learnt how to just get over it, how to just suck up those tasks that they don't enjoy. And it's a really useful thing to do, and it's a kind of lifelong project. Procrastination, we know, putting it off is going to make it worse. That doesn't stop us doing it. So we still need to have a solution in place that's going to make us actually, again, prepare for the fact that we know we're not going to feel motivated, and we know that we might procrastinate and put things off. So solutions. What can we do for lack of motivation and a tendency to procrastinate? Of course, we can make specific plans so that making the time and setting it aside, once it's set aside in advance, we're much more likely to stick to it, rather than just thinking to ourselves, sometime this week, I might just get round to going back over that topic. Once we've decided when we're going to do something and how long we're going to do it for, maybe we put aside an hour. An hour is quite a long time and can seem a bit daunting. So if we're really not feeling like it, we can set ourselves a timer for just 25 minutes. Stick it on the phone, stick it on the laptop, set a timer. Maybe you can use one of those kitchen timers as well if you want to keep away from the digital devices. But set that time and tell yourself, I am just going to do this for 25 minutes. That's all. You can do anything for 25 minutes, even if it's not feeling like it's something you want to do. So keeping it short will get you started, and usually getting started is the main thing. Once you start doing it, you might find after 25 minutes that actually you're perfectly happy to carry on for the rest of the hour. That's usually the case. So the key thing here is we're not waiting to feel like it. You should never wait till you feel like it, because actually, do you know what? Even no matter how much you love what you do, no matter how interested you are, it's really, really rare for you to just feel like, hey, I really want to do some reading now, or note making or revision. It just doesn't happen to most people. And then be nice to yourself. Plan some rewards. Tell yourself what you're going to do when you have achieved the time that you said that you were going to set aside. It can be just something really small. You're going to watch a TV program that you want to catch up with. You're going to phone a friend, go out, whatever, something small to eat, whatever gets you through it, plan something as a treat. The last thing that we said that's possibly causing difficulties with our time management and just making that time is multitasking. So the thing you need to realize is that multitasking is a myth and it doesn't exist. Nobody can do two things at once. Nobody can focus on more than one thing at once. So what you're actually doing when you say that you're multitasking. So what could we be doing that we say we're multitasking? Maybe we are doing some revision in front of the TV, or we are in the study centre chatting to our mates, but we're also like getting some homework done at the same time. The thing that's happening there is your brain is constantly switching between tasks. It's tiring, it's ineffective, everything is taking longer, and it isn't a good way to work. So most of the time, when we feel like we've done an hour of something and we haven't really achieved anything, it is because we haven't really done an hour. We've been breaking that time up into tiny little pieces like time confetti, and that is because of constant interruptions. That is making our focus go away from the task, and then it's taking us a really long time to focus back on what we were doing. And let's face it, A-level subjects require focus. They're difficult. You can't really work out what's going on if you are taking your attention away every 5 minutes to look at a message, look at an email, or some other interruption. So we definitely know what the solution to this one is. Again, set those timers, and when you set those timers, use do not disturb, use focus mode, use whatever you need to do. Put your phone somewhere else, actually, if you can. If you don't need it for what you're doing, then don't have it. If you don't need to be online, don't be online. If you are going to be online, fine, but you can still have focus modes and do not disturb on the device that you are online on. And at the same time, don't use quality time for minor tasks. So what I mean like that is, if you've put aside an hour to do something, make it, and it's an uninterrupted hour that you have where you know you can work somewhere quiet without distraction. Don't use that time for deleting your junk emails or replying to your emails or ticking off your tasks on your planner or reorganizing your notes so that they're in the right order for the week. Don't spend an hour of time doing that when that hour could be set aside for really focused study and actually productive work. Those are not pieces of productive work, and they can be put anywhere in your day. There are plenty of times in your day when you can sort out your inbox in that fractured time where you're being distracted, and then it doesn't matter. So don't use quality time for just little tiny fragmented tasks that don't require your concentration. That is just another way of procrastinating. Okay, so we've taken a lot of time talking about time. What should you do now to really feel like you're going to make a step forward in your time management? First thing, get yourself a weekly revision planner of some kind, and actually on paper works really well because you can stick it up somewhere where you can look at it and see it. Alternatively, you could do a digital version and you could put it as a screensaver on your phone or on your iPad so that you're reminded with what you're meant to be doing. Alternatively, you could also use an app on your phone, just your simple calendar reminder app, to set aside the time and what you're going to do. When you do that, I recommend doing it 1 week at a time. Everyone can look a week ahead, even if you've got a teenage brain which has struggles with kind of the future and things like that. Start with small stuff. Don't decide that you're going to set aside 6 hours in a week. It's not really going to be very achievable. It's not going to be sustainable, and then you're just going to get demotivated and not do any of it. So start with something small, maybe 2 hours in a week, maybe an hour and a half. You know yourself, you know your schedule. Look at the days, decide when you work the best. Are you a morning person? Are you better in the evenings? Pick the morning, the evening, the part of the weekend when you're going to do these non-urgent. So remember, this is not necessarily planning for your homework. Your homework will get done because it has to be. So this is putting aside time for that other stuff. Decide on what your priorities are going to be. It may be that there's one particular topic that you're struggling with, or there's one subject that you want to focus on more than your other A-level subjects. It may be a particular thing you want to focus on, like making notes or multiple choice questions. When you know what those priorities are, then you need to be specific. Once you've decided on a time and a day, that's already well ahead, because you're now deciding that's the time I'm going to do it. So you've been quite specific. You now need to decide what you're going to do. The more specific you are, the more likely you are to do it and not find an excuse or put it off. So let's have a look at these two examples. You could just go, Thursday evening, I'm going to do some chemistry. Or you could say, from Thursday, 5 to 6, I'm going to make flashcards on the atomic structure topic. So look at how much more motivated you're going to be when you know exactly how long you're going to be doing something and what exactly you're going to be doing it on. You're going to feel a lot better rather than sitting down and going, right, chemistry, what am I doing? And then you don't know. And then, of course, you really don't feel like it, because then you have to make a decision, and that's hard. Make the decision ahead. Speaking of making decisions ahead, don't forget to put a little bit of time somewhere, 10 or 15 minutes, to plan for the next week. And you can see that this revision planner has a little thing about targets for next week. So you've got that little aspect of review. You can go see what worked well, see what didn't work, set your priorities for next time, and then do it all again. Weekly, this is not too difficult a job to do. Something that you could do on a Sunday afternoon and really helps you structure that week to get those important things done that you know should be done.